Well, hello. I think you guys probably already know me, but I am Mike Underwood. I have been a Harborside teacher since 2008. And seeing that the school started in 2007, that would make me a year two teacher. So I started here the second year of Harborside. Joined in after Mr. Haithcock and I had a chance to talk. I was working down in Texas at the time, teaching high school and being the technology specialist down there. And he needed to have somebody who could do both some business teaching for him and do some technology work because he didn't have either of them really available at the time. And so I, along with my wife, who was an English teacher, came up and decided to join Bill in this new school called Harborside. After talking to him and hearing what Harborside was supposed to be, it sounded like a fantastic fit for both of us, and we wanted to try something new. We were going to be moving up north anyway, and we were looking for jobs. We were coming back home to be closer to family, and Harborside and Mr. Haithcock seemed like a perfect fit for us, something new to try. And so we put our names in the hat and we became part of Harborside's second year. And it was quite the adventure. It was something brand new for both of us. Both of us taught in really, really big schools in Houston. My wife Luann taught in a school that was almost 4,000 kids at one point, and my school was around 2,500 if you included the ninth grade campus. They had their own campus for ninth graders. And so coming to Harborside, which at the time had a grand total of, it was going to be 200 kids, that was a little different for us for sure. And being in a big school, my wife was a department chair for the English department, and I'd worked a number of years as a business teacher and a technology specialist. We decided, hey, we were up for the new adventure, and that's exactly what it was. I mean, we were coming to Harborside, which had just started the year before. Got to know some of the early teachers the year that we got there, obviously, but we met everybody that we were going to start teaching with. Some of them you know because they're still at our school. Mr. Granzi, who's the chemistry teacher, Mr. Mengel, who teaches 11th grade history, and Miss Padecki were all part of that team as well. And we met each other on a plane ride to San Francisco when we got our first EL training. And so we were going through the training as to what this whole EL thing was because none of us had taught that before. And so it was a whole new concept. And going through our opening training, we all really bonded. We became really tight as a group. And I think from that point forward, it seemed like every time Harborside went to any EL training, we already were kind of known for being that group, that we were kind of the group that was really tight and really was kind of trying to figure this thing out as fast as we could. I think Bill always said it best, Mr. Haithcock, when he said a lot of what we did was kind of the concept of, build the plane as you're flying it, or ready, shoot, aim. You could look at it either way because we were all learning it at the same time. We were trying something new that we thought was a great idea. And so together we took on this adventure that we didn't know what we were going to get, but we all thought it was going to be something special. And right from the start, which I really liked about it, you could tell that the first year teachers gave the students a huge amount of ownership in what was going on in the school. And I thought that was really neat. They designed the HOS traits. They designed original things for our school. Now they complained about the dress code all the time. See, I do have my collared shirt on for any of our first year students in our first number of years. You guys today don't realize that as you're walking around in jammy pants and whatever else you're wearing, that our first number of years, everybody had to wear khaki pants and a collared shirt. That was an automatic dress code. And as you imagine, not everybody loved that dress code. I think being a member of the governance board from the start, we probably spent more hours discussing the dress code than any other problems that we ever had at Harborside. It was always an issue. The kids never loved the dress code, especially back when we were in our khakis and collar days. But we really felt that that was a way to show ourselves as something different in the community. Made us stand out. Most kids can come to school wearing whatever they want to, looking a little trashy sometimes. And we wanted to stand out. We wanted to be those kids that you could tell they weren't from a regular school. They were from Harborside, and they had pride in their school. And so it really kind of took the character of those original kids and us as teachers kind of letting them have the freedom to do the things that they were going to do, because that's what it was all about, right? When we later we're going to talk about some of the design principles, but things like the primacy of self-discovery, where they were excited to learn and do the new things because this is school like they had never done before. Just like to us, it was all another design principle, success and failure, right? We'd fail a lot at what we did, but it was the idea that we were learning as we went. And we were learning right along with the kids. We didn't know any more than the kids. We were just trying to play along with them too and really figure out how this whole EL thing's going to work. Sorry, I probably should answer a few of these questions here. But yeah, the first few years were exciting for us because it was all new. I had never been in a school that, we were going to go camping with the kids. We were going to spend a week in the woods with the kids and really learn. Hi, Kit. Yeah, I got some of my animals will be here. You'll hear a number of noises while you're in my house. So I got cats here. I've got dogs. There are puppies in the other room. But it was wild. We'd go out and literally throw tents out in the woods and be out there with the kids, grabbing a crate of food and cooking over an open fire with the kids, going out and doing adventures, hiking in the woods, biking in the woods, shooting arrows in the woods, going down to the swimming hole. We did it all. And this was all for school. This wasn't what school was when I grew up. This wasn't what school was when I was teaching in Houston. But this was new for all of us, and it was fantastic. We really developed a love for the natural world around us to really understand where we stood in the world and, noticing where our place in the world was, but how much effect that we could have on the world. That's what Harborside became to me. Like I said, I should answer a few of these questions, though, huh? So one of them that asked about challenges and successes in the early years. I mean, for us, it was all new, so it was all a challenge. We were all learning what are these ideas of, what's an expedition? How do we work together with one big topic and make sure we tie together our science and our social studies and our English and as much as we could our math, and then bring in elective teachers as well. And it was great. We were figuring it out as we went. We had designers come over from EL that helped us learn how to map out our curriculum. So we had these great curriculum maps, and we started developing friendships in the community so that we could do all sorts of field work that we'd go outside. You think of school, you sit down in desks, you open up your book, you read chapter 4, and you answer the questions at the end. Well, that's not schoolwork in Harborside. Harborside schoolwork, where you're out in the community, you're making a difference, you're doing service projects, you're learning from people who actually do the things that you're learning about, and you're experiencing them firsthand. And so it was all challenging, but it was all an exciting challenge for us. And I think the kids saw it that way too. They saw this as being something new for them. They'd never experienced that going up through school. And so challenges, sure. But I think we were all kind of excited about the challenges. And it really, it brought us together as a group. It really turned us into that whole idea that we are crew. None of us could be passengers because we were all figuring it out together. So everybody grabbed an oar and everybody got in the boat and we all rowed together. Sometimes we went the wrong way. Sometimes we went down pathways that didn't make a lot of sense, but we figured it out, I think we've gotten better and stronger all the way through the years. We learned more things. We've changed a number of things, some for the better, some for the worse. It always happens, but you live and you grow from it. So yeah, there were challenges, but I think there were a ton of successes. You saw kids coming out of there with real pride. You saw kids coming out of there that would get huge scholarships to all kinds of different colleges, and they'd come back and they'd tell us, I'm in classes with people that don't talk. I'm the only one who ever talks. The professor wants to hear from me all the time because I share my opinions. We set up kids for success. It really felt that way, where they had a chance to do well in the world because they had learned it. They'd learned how to critically think. They'd learned how to think outside the box. They'd learned how to care about things, not just do them because you needed an A or a B in the class, but do them because it mattered. It was doing something to help the world. And I think a lot of the projects, a lot of the expeditions that we had, some of those culminating events were really powerful for our kids. They really let them see how much they could do in the world. That it wasn't just them going to school. It was them and their place in society. And so, yep, challenges definitely, but I think it was more successful than challenges. It was us all learning together and us all growing together. And for me, it was the hardest place to work as a teacher, but it was the most rewarding. It felt like I was doing something, you know, it felt like I was actually making a difference. The next question talks about design principles. So, how do you see the EL design principles come to life in the classrooms and throughout the school during those first few years? Can you share an example of how you saw students and staff engage in these principles? I think, you know, the example I often use, because at the time I was a tech guy for the campus and I was a business teacher. So I wasn't directly involved in a lot of the expeditions. I got to go on some of the field work and I got to join in with some of the expeditions. I found connections to my class. But where I really saw the design principles come in was when we all went to camp. And like I said, we'd go literally 5.5 hours, 6 hours away, all the way up to Elko to Camp Lyle, taking a big old bus up there and then pitching tents in the woods for a week where we were cooking over an open fire. And some days it was rainy, some days it was nice. We had a mixture of everything. And we were just out in the woods learning about each other, learning about the world. And at the same time, they were classes that we were taking out there. You know, it was like we would do our intensives at camp. Camp was part of it all. Whether you were in academic intensives or you had earned your right to go to a fun intensive, they were held at camp. So if you were an academic, you're sitting up in the mess hall doing your work during the normal part of the day, and then you're with your crew at night, camping and cooking and doing all the things that you would do. So the design principles, I relate most to the natural world. It felt like we were out in nature a lot, like as much as we could. Getting out there to go to camp, getting out on field work, going to Simmons Island, doing our ground school. I felt that that was huge. And it felt to me like, you know, we'd have all these collaborations. Most people were doing great group work and really putting together these great group projects. It felt like, you know, we had this whole thing. It was all about self-discovery. It was figuring out who you were, really challenging yourself to understand the world around you and become better because you overcome fears. You know, it's the old Kurt Hahn quote that there's more in you than you know. And if you just push yourself, you might never go back to ever doing less because you've seen how much better it can be if you really push yourself and try to overcome the obstacles. So looking at our design principles, we had so many of them that we used all the time. Like I said before, success and failure was huge. I know there was so many times that I felt like I was failing at things, but you would figure it out. And through those failures, you'd learn how to do it better. And I think we all got better as staff and students as we keep going on. Every day I'm trying to get better. So I live by that success and failure. That's how we learn. That's how we grow. You don't grow by being successful all the time. If you get 100 on everything, you didn't learn anything new, right? If you get a 50 on something, it gives you 50% chance to grow all that extra that you didn't have before. So you come in and you fail a test, you know, yeah, that stinks, but now look at all the things I get to learn that obviously I didn't know before. And so that's what it felt like to me as a teacher. I was learning this whole EL philosophy and learning what it was to be an EL teacher. And so, yeah, I'd fail at a lot of things and I'd try new things. And I'd try a new protocol because the last one didn't work. And guess what? The next one worked great. So you incorporate it into what you do. So I think the design principles were key for all of us, and it really helped us focus our work. And that's kind of the key. I mean, if they're going to be design principles, that's what this school's designed to do, right? Couple other questions that are on here. Field work I already talked about, right? That was a huge part of expeditions. We wanted to get out there and get our hands dirty and do the things instead of just hear about them, right? Get out there and actually do water testing. Get in a canoe and go down the Pike Creek. You know, get out there and actually get into the senior citizens where they lived in their senior centers. As part of the Alzheimer's expedition, the Seniors to Seniors, where kids made connections with a senior partner, whether it was somebody living in one of the senior centers in town, it could have been a relative of theirs going through some type of dementia or Alzheimer's. And you really got to know what the problems were by talking to the real people, you know, talking to the people who did the jobs, understanding the earth by getting your hands in it, getting dirty and doing the jobs, right? So much of it, I mean, I think about the old 11th grade expedition where they had their own farm that they made. You know, they're out there at X10 Industries with all these hoop gardens making amazing things. And that was part of their expedition. And all of these different expeditions that we've had through the years, the connections with the veterans, all of them are all part of, you know, field work that turned into something more. It turned into something that made it powerful enough to become a full expedition. Let's see. Like I said before, as an elective teacher and the tech guy at first, through most of my years there, I did my best to join into expeditions. Like I found a great connection. After I went to training, I learned about a piece of history that a lot of people don't know about, which was the Triangle Shirtwaist Fire. Well, it happens that that particular thing fit perfectly into some of what the ninth grade expedition was when they go to Pullman and they talk about some of these utopian societies. Well, I was able to connect with them. And so we worked together with the ninth grade team and came up with things that I could cover that would help them in what they were covering. And so the kids could make those connections. And that's really what the expeditions are about, right? Making the connections. We don't just tell them, yeah, the expedition in sixth grade is about water. Now, here you go. And then we just go off on our own. We try to make sure that there's hearing about it in every class. And they're making connections as to why it's connected to science, why it's connected to history, why it's connected in English, and where we can connect it in math as often as we can, right? And it's not just, oh, it's about water. No, it's about water being life. And it's about us being able to sustain the water that we have. And it's about us actually caring about it and doing something about it because we have the power to do that. And so that's part of these whole things that we come into with expeditions. It takes what they're learning, gives them a connection to reality and a connection to their world, and they can see it better when they can see that connection because now it's personal. And so whenever we can make it personal to them and they can see that there's something they can do about it, they can make changes in this world that are positive. And it doesn't matter if you're one kid or you're one grade level, you've got the power to change things. And that's what expeditionary learning does, I feel. It really teaches them that there's more in them that they know. They've got the power to make these positive changes, whether it's helping out some seniors or understanding it better. Like we've had kids that went from here and actually are now brain surgeons. That's what they work on. We've had kids that have been connected with the Alzheimer's Association ever since they went through the Walk to End Alzheimer's and had the time that they got to spend with their senior partners. We've got people that still work with the veterans today and probably got in the military because of the work that they did with veterans as they went through some of these expeditions, right? So I think it has a strong impact on people. They really make connections with some of these different expeditions, and it becomes part of who they are. They become more empathetic. They become more caring to the world around them, and they really see that they've got the power to make a difference. A couple other things on here. They wanted me to talk to you a little bit about HOS traits. Again, this is something that those first year students, thank you guys, they're the ones who set it up. The first year teachers and them, they got together and they looked at what would be the character traits that they felt would best represent our school. And they laid them all out and they came up with reasons for them and why they wanted the ones to be the ones that they are. And we even went back to them when we changed a couple of them because we didn't originally have tenacity and integrity. We had different versions of them. But we went back to them and we said, hey, we're looking to maybe make some changes. And we got their approval to do it because we felt that they were so connected to it. And they had done so much to set up the school. And so it really holds us together, those character traits. When you start thinking about, yep, we're doing classwork, and yep, we're doing field work, and yep, we're doing these expeditions. But all of them connect back to our habits of success, all these character traits that we have. Because in the real world, those things make a difference, right? That's what employers are looking for. That's what colleges are looking for. They're not just looking for somebody who's a straight A student. They want somebody with integrity. They want somebody that actually can do cooperative work, that isn't somebody that has to work by themselves. They can't get along with anybody, right? They want people with integrity. They want people that'll show up and be respectful. And so all of those traits that they chose, I think, really exemplify what Harborside is, and hopefully will help you out in the future as well. Not just, hey, I got to pass these traits, or else I'm in that HOS intensive, and I don't want to be in that again, right? It's about really learning what those traits mean and taking those into your own life, because those are skills. They're called soft skills, but really they're the skills that people want. Those are good friends. Those are good people if you can follow those traits. Those are people that do well in the world because they respect each other, they care about each other, and they've got the integrity to do the right thing even when nobody's watching, right? As far as legacy of Harborside, what do I hope future generations of Harborside students and staff will remember about the school's early years? You know, I just hope that they remember that we were building something good. And we didn't always know what we were doing, and we still don't always know what we were doing. But I think if you ask a lot of the students that have gone through our entire program, they feel a real connection to each other. They feel a real connection to the community. And that's what we were building. We wanted that so badly, to build kids that had a strong connection. And I think that's what we got. I think that's who's coming out as a Harborside graduate. They feel like there's something special in the education that they got. They know that they got a different education than, let's say, the kids at Tremper did or the kids at Bradford did. It just isn't the same. It gives them so many more opportunities to discover who they are and who they want to be. What changes do they want to make in the world rather than what do they want to take from the world, right? So I hope the legacy is something that people care about and that they want to keep growing, and that they hopefully will have someday their kids go. I mean, it's been fantastic watching so many of the kids that I taught at Harborside that have since come back as teachers and student teachers and substitute teachers. I mean, I think of Mr. Bell, who you guys don't know, but he was here for a number of years. I think of Miss Carlson, who's here now. I think of Miss Barrera, who's here now. And we've had several others that have come and been student teachers. They've come and they've substituted in our building. So there must be something right. They want to come back. They want to see the school continue because they've got something out of it. As far as advice, boy, one piece of advice to current students or staff members, what would it be? I think it's probably like a lot of us did at the start. It's really easy for kids and staff to look at all these things that are different, right? We do things very different at Harborside. And it's not always easy for people to change. And it's not always easy for people to jump out of their comfort zone and try something new. But man, is it worth it, The kids that we have that come through the school that really get something out of it, they take chances. They take risks every day. They do something that other people might think, oh, they're going to laugh at me. Or, oh, this is kind of dumb. I don't want to do this. This is kind of dumb. Well, you know what? You got to be willing to try those things. At Harborside, when you start at ground school the first day, you're running around on the beach building sandcastles. You're playing underneath an umbrella. A parachute. You're going around and you're drawing street art on the sidewalk. And you're playing a hot chocolate river game. Whatever it is you're doing that first day, how many other schools do that, right? And the whole idea is to make those connections, find people to connect with, become a crew, and be willing to take chances, take risks, try something new. Be willing to be a fool together. I mean, I've done so many dumb things at Harborside, and what they were is, it wasn't as dumb as it seemed because we were making connections with each other, whether it was making connections with the staff or making connections with the kids. I feel like we really become stronger as a school when we get out of our comfort zone and we let ourselves be vulnerable and we try something new. Don't be afraid to go camping. I know we got a bunch of teachers that love the idea of glamping and staying in a hotel with kids instead of going out in the woods. But you know what? They've all done it. They've all gone out in the woods with the kids, and they come back and they might not have loved it, but they can see the connections and they can make those connections with kids. When you're outside of your comfort zone, that might be the first time some of our kids have ever been in the woods. That might be the first time they've ever been outside of Kenosha County. And it makes a difference. Let them see the world around them because there's so much more out there than our own little world, right? So take a chance, live life on the edge, take the risks, get outside your comfort zone, think outside the box, just be a good person. That's what you really got to do. Be a good person, do something good in this world. I've been a teacher this is my 33rd year as a teacher, and I'm trying to get better every day. And I try to let myself get uncomfortable every day because I know that's where something great can happen, is when I try something new and I let myself be a little bit at risk. And I think that's the way it works for kids too. Try something new, meet a new friend. Don't let anybody eat alone at Harborside. Bring them in. That might be your new best friend. You know, take the time to care about each other and it'll all work out. But thank you guys for doing this. I think this is a great project. I'm really proud of Harborside. I mean, if you've been in my room, you've seen all the paddles on my wall. That's my treasure chest. Those are my kids from my cruise, and they're my family. That's what Harborside is to me. They really are my family, and I love to stay connected to my kids. And you guys, we're all part of this family together. So it's important that you do things like this, and I think it really will show the future how much the past means. Those who pay attention to history won't repeat the failures of the past, but maybe will learn from them and they'll be even more successful. I think that's what Harborside's doing every day. We're learning from our past failures and we're getting a little better at what we do every day. And it's a great group of kids. It's a great staff that's here. And I just want to keep working with them as long as I can because I have so much fun working with the kids. Even now that I'm a sixth grade teacher, that's been a weird change, by the way, for all of you guys that were here a long time ago. Yeah, that's right. I teach sixth grade now. So it's very different, but it's exciting. That's why I was willing when Trent came to me and said, hey, we really need you to be a sixth grade history teacher. I'm like, okay, I've never taught sixth grade and I've never taught history. So that sounds great. Let's do it, and I'm willing to try. Just take a chance. It's worth it. Thank you guys for doing this. Have a great night, and I'll talk to you later.